Baseball is loved by Americans the land over, and players are afforded an almost godlike status. Little do a lot of people know the first origins of the game actually took place in England before it was taken across the Atlantic and morphed into the mega sport it is today. Today we're looking at some times baseball fans have gone too far, so stay with us to the end for some crazy stories. First up, one of the earliest examples of fans going over the top. On August 4th, 1901, and then Baltimore Orioles were hosting the Detroit Tigers, with the Tigers 7-4 to the good at the bottom of the fourth. The leadoff batter for Baltimore was called out at first base, somewhat controversially, with Orioles players surrounding and arguing with umpire Tom Connolly about the call. A massive brawl then broke out. Fans responded by invading the field and storming the box office for refunds, with Orioles pitcher Joe McGinnity being ejected for spitting in Connolly's eyes. Sounds like a nice guy. Detroit's Kid Elberfeld that traded punches with Baltimore's Mike Donlin before Donlin's teammate Bill Keister got involved. Connolly was then assaulted by fans as he made his escape into a stadium office, where he had to stay over an hour until fans started to disperse. McGinnity, Elberfeld, Keister, and a fan were all arrested and escorted off the field by police. McGinnity was rightfully suspended for 10 games, the fan was fined $100, and the game was ruled a forfeit to the Tigers. Some truly shocking behavior, and it doesn't get any better. Next, another shocking story from the early 20th century. Stay with us. During the 6th inning of a game between the New York Highlanders, now the Yankees, and the Detroit Tigers, again at Hilltop Park in New York, Tigers outfielder Ty Cobbs took matters into his own hands and assaulted a disabled fan, Claude Luker. After the fan had continually heckled him throughout the first 3 innings, Cobb was ejected and he was suspended indefinitely and fined $50 for the incident. As bad as this incident was, you could argue that it doesn't happen at all if the fan hadn't gone too far and left the player alone. In another incident from the same season involving the same player, umpire Tom Connolly was struck in the mouth by a bottle thrown from the crowd while he was arguing with Cobb, who had been called out for stepping across home plate after he had hit an RBI triple on the third pitch of what has been an intentional walk. Have you heard about Cobb? Apparently, he wasn't well liked by teammates, maybe unsurprisingly. A Babe Ruth-inspired brawl up next. In an American League game in 1924 between the Yankees and the Detroit Tigers, yet again, at Navin Field, Yankees batter Bob Meusel was hit in the ribs by pitcher Bert Cole, to which Meusel responded by walking directly to the mound and attempting to punch the pitcher. The batter was restrained by the umpires before being thrown out of the game. Babe Ruth then charged from the dugout, all guns blazing, claiming that Cole was throwing at the Yankees, and another mass brawl broke out between the fierce rivals. After a few minutes, Ruth was ejected, but Meusel and Ruth had another go at the Tigers' dugout, which resulted in another bench-clearing brawl. Fans then got in on the action and invaded the field, forcing police to escort the players off to safety. With more brawls breaking out between rival fans and police on the field, it took half an hour to clear the field, but the umpires had already given the game to the Yankees via forfeit. A ruckus in Philly up next, so don't go anywhere. During a National League game between the Philadelphia Phillies and New York Giants in the 1949 season, New York were 3-2 up with 1 out in the top of the 9th on the second game of a doubleheader, when umpire George Barr ruled that Richie Ashburn had missed a diving catch, resulting in Willard Marshall scoring the 4th run for New York. The Philly players obviously complained, but when the decision was not changed, fans went crazy and threw glass bottles onto the field, with the barrage continuing despite pleas over the public address system. An umpire was hit in the mouth by a bottle, and another umpire, Al Barlick, was hit in the back of the head by a tomato. Yes, a tomato. After waiting for a short period of time, Barlick ruled the game a forfeit to the Giants, thanks largely to the behavior of the PA natives. Jimmy Purcell gets one over on some Yankees fans next. In a 1961 doubleheader at Yankee Stadium between the Yankees and the Cleveland Indians, outfielder Jimmy Purcell was attacked by 2 Yankee fans who ran onto the field, probably after downing too many beers. Purcell quickly dropped the first fan with a single punch and then chased after the other, who was dispatched by teammates Johnny Temple and Walt Bond. I mean, what were the fans thinking by going after a professional athlete, one who has easy access to baseball bats, no less? What's the stupidest thing you've ever seen in a sports event? A 1971 incident next. During the top of the 9th inning of a Major League Baseball game between the Washington Senators and the New York Yankees at the RFK Memorial Stadium, with which was in fact the Senators' last game in Washington before they relocated to Texas. The Senators were leading 7-5 with 2 outs when hundreds of disgruntled Senators fans invaded the field and vandalized the stadium, taking the bases as keepsakes and assaulting police, umpires, and stadium security. 3 men were arrested for disorderly conduct, and the game was forfeited to the Yankees. There seems to be an inordinate amount of fan behavior at Yankees games for some reason. What do you think the reason is? Let us know below. Next up, 10-cent beer night turns into chaos. In 1974, a game between the Cleveland Indians and the Texas Rangers at Cleveland turned into an absolute mayhem as fans were served as many 10-ounce cups of beer as they wanted for 10 cents each. Seems like a great idea. Not. After a number of different instances of drunk fans throwing things, running onto the field and streaking, the situation turned nasty when a drunk fan ran onto the field and stole outfielder Jeff Burlow's cap and glove. His teammates charged out to his aid, but so did the Cleveland fans to the aid of their fellow fans. In the ensuing madness, Indians boss Ken Aspermonte told his players to pick up bats and protect the Rangers players from their own fans. Rangers manager Billy Martin grabbed a bat and ran into the crowd like a madman. Cleveland pitcher Tom Hingeldorf was hit in the back of the head with a metal chair like something straight out of WWE, and chief umpire Nestor Klilak was hit in the head with a chair thrown from the stands and required stitches. 9 people were arrested and the game was forfeited to Texas. Carnage. We imagine that was probably the end of 10-cent beer night. Another moronic episode from a deluded fan next, so stay right there. On September 28, 1995, Chicago pitcher Randy Myers was attacked on the mound by a fan, John Murray, at Wrigley Field after being at fault and conceding a home run. Myers, who was well versed in martial arts, easily subdued his attacker and held him on the ground until authorities arrested him. Murray was rightfully charged with assault and disorderly conduct. Cubs shortstop Cheyenne Dunston, who was the first person on the scene, commented afterwards that knowing which teammate was being attacked, he feared for the life of the would-be attacker. A shocking story from 2002 now, which you might remember. During a game between the Chicago White Sox and the Kansas City Royals at Chicago, Royals first base coach Tom Gambeau was violently assaulted by 34-year-old William Ligg Jr. and his 15-year-old son, William Ligg III. The pair of idiots have both since spent time in prison, unsurprisingly with neither of them showing much remorse for their shocking attack on Gamboa. An incident from Boston next. In 2005, a fan at Fenway Park took a swing at Yankees outfielder Gary Sheffield as he was fielding a ball in play, prompting Sheffield to return the compliment, swinging straight back at the fan, somewhat understandable. While this was happening, another fan threw a beer at Sheffield, tripping over the fan next to him in the process. Instant karma. After throwing the ball back into the field of play, Sheffield approached the fan who threw a punch at him before security intervened. The fan was ejected from the stadium and had his season tickets revoked. Rightfully so. Do you have any crazy stories from the world of baseball? Let us know below. Thanks for tuning in, and remember to join us next time. Bye, guys.